You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for March 23rd, 2026, being recorded on March 22nd because we've got some business to attend to tomorrow night. And by the way, it's not safe for work.
Nope, still not safe for work. And we're still recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we're going to get down to the important matters first and right away. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. All right, first issue is reviving our long dormant feature, Science Fiction University. By the way, my brother loves this feature. I think he hates everything else, but he loves this feature. So this one is for the love of the genre and for the IRS, Blue Gal.
Right, we got to write off those movie tickets.
How did you like Project Hail Mary, the movie?
The movie. Well, I liked it very much. I thought it was the good investment of a Sunday afternoon. I thought Ryan Gosling, first of all, he's just got this face. There was this big, humongous poster, cardboard stand thing of the movie in the middle of the movie theater entrance for Project Hail Mary. And there he is, his face. And I said to you, as we're walking in the theater, he's got this face.
This face.
And it's an actor's face. And it's a handsome face, but it's an average guy face. It's the boy who grew up to be a man. He's still got a little bit of the boy in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, I think, a good character actor.
Yes, he is.
He has star qualities, but he also is a good character actor. Apparently, he is a dream to work with. Actresses love him. And he is married to Ms. Mendez. They keep their family out of Hollywood. They have a good, strong marriage. So he can be a romantic lead with actresses, and he treats them with respect, blah, blah, blah. He's a treat. And so in this movie, he really has to carry almost this entire movie himself.
The whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing.
He produced this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
And I will give away this spoiler. In the credits, they have his union membership.
Yes, they do.
After the producer, he is a member of the Producers Union.
Producers Guild of America. Yep.
Yeah. And so, he produced this movie. He is in almost every scene. He is acting across from non-human, on-air, like actors have to act against green screen. This happens in these science fiction movies. He does a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's alone a lot in this movie.
Yes.
It reminded me a little bit of Moon, if you remember that movie.
Well, and The Martian.
And The Martian, yeah. The Martian, you're an astronaut alone.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And that theme carries through this movie.
Yep.
And that's not easy. You have to build a character that is likable enough that you're going to sit with that character and whatever he goes through and still want to sit there 2.5 hours later. And
you got to give that character things to react to.
Yeah.
Things that require their attention, require that their moods shift, require they move their bodies, require that they take some action or that they're in peril.
Yeah.
There are flashbacks. Much of the movie is told in flashbacks. It makes perfect sense. You don't need to worry about that part.
Don't have to worry about that.
But
there's just the right mix, I think, like The Martian, of humor and peril, which you have to carry the story through.
Yes, you do. And
so
science.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It leans hard on the science.
It does.
It likes science.
Yep. And it likes space. And I said to you about this, I am not, and you and I are not, because first of all, we don't like spending that kind of money. And secondly, I'm just not a big IMAX person. I want to see a movie on a screen and not be surrounded by 50 screens, blaring at me. Mm-hmm. For this movie, if I was going to see it again, I'd see it in IMAX.
Yeah, because of scale.
Space, as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy taught us, kids, space is big.
It's big. It's the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
how,
I would see this in my IMAX if I was going to go see it again.
And how very, very small we are.
Yeah.
In space.
Yeah.
Now,
so
we had a friend of ours.
That's no spoilers, I hope.
No.
I think, yeah.
But I want to talk about a friend of ours, one of your knitting cult members.
My knitting cult member, Anne. Yeah. Hi, Anne. She's not listening because she's busy knitting.
And she was over here on Saturdays frequently, and we're delighted to have her.
Yeah.
And you guys knit and watch Ironside.
We watch right now. We're watching Ironside.
This is hilarious.
7 or 8 seasons of Raymond Burr yelling, but it's good knitting time. That's the point.
And she's a total science fiction movie nerd as well. So
she's a mathematician.
Yeah, come on,
in
man.
Day-to-day life. Yes.
Come on.
So yeah.
But she shows up at our door just and poses us a tricky question, which I thought, what am I? Is this the bridge of doom in Monty Python? I got to answer your question.
I think she got these questions from Blue Sky. Actually,
I think she did. But there were several questions. This is a tricky one in book to movie adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Could we name at least one where the movie was better than the book? Or maybe in our case, let's modify as good as the book.
As good as the book. I think that was her question, actually. Yeah. Was the movie as good as the book? Yep.
And I had to take a minute. I came up with 3 because I was not expecting a quiz on a Saturday afternoon in my own home.
From a knitter.
But I picked Jaws, Jurassic Park, and The Big Sleep. All of which I think are I read because that's not to say the books themselves are bad. Yeah. There's no judgment on the books. They're not. Both Jaws and Jurassic Park were summer beach read big bestsellers when they were made into films. So everybody knew what they were. Millions of people had read them. And while The Big Sleep wasn't really well received, it was well received, but it wasn't really a big hit.
Not at the time, no.
But over time, critics and fans, I think, came to appreciate how much care Raymond Chandler put into the atmosphere and how very sharp his dialogue was.
And it's my favorite bogey movie.
Really. It's just, and
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love almost all of them. There's some of them that are frankly not great. I love The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I will watch that every time. But man, if we had to pick one, it's going to be The Big Sleep.
Yeah. Even over, are you even going to choose that one over Casablanca?
Don't make me choose. Don't make me choose. Because Casablanca is such an epic.
Yeah.
And it has such a sweep, such a worldwide resonance. It's the first movie
I
they
feel
showed.
like it's bigger than Bogey. I feel like that.
It is.
I don't think of that as a Bogey movie. It's not a Bogey vehicle. It is a vehicle for greatness.
Yeah. But without him, there's no movie.
There's no movie, but without any of them, without Ilsa, there's no movie. Exactly. Without the Nazis, there's no movie. It is, like you say, an epic. And when you think of just a Bogey movie, I don't think of Casablanca that way, but I do think of The Big Sleep as a movie in which Bogey had a lot of fun.
He did, clearly.
Messing around. And it's just a mystery wrapped in a mystery. And the crimes that are going on in that movie are adult crimes.
Yes.
They're really bad crimes.
Yeah. And
they don't talk about what they are, but it's bad. It's trafficking. It's drugs.
Yeah.
It's evil.
And that's the part where you do the book to movie conversion, where you don't actually mention exactly what's going on.
Say what's going on here. Yes. Yeah.
But it's bad.
My movie as good as the book is Emma Thompson's Sense and Sensibility, because she took Jane Austen and made it into a film that is really transcends the simple little story of two sisters and makes it about the men and the drama and the pain. And Alan Rickman is so good in that one as someone who's been through pain and has to recover.
Who's the father in that?
The father's gone.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There's no father.
I'm colliding two movies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is no father in that one. You're colliding.
Jane Eyre?
Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice, yes.
Donald Sutherland. Where the father is Sutherland, Donald Sutherland, who is brilliant in that movie also. Yeah. I mean, just brilliant. But Emma Thompson's screenplay for Sense and Sensibility takes that book, which is not Jane Austen's greatest book. Pride and Prejudice is her greatest book, but takes that book and transcends through time and makes it a bigger and better story.
Yeah.
With the same characters. And I loved it. But
and frankly, adaptations of plays don't count in this category because they're written to be performed on stage.
Yeah. But in every case, screenwriters and directors trim down stories and trim down novels down to a major through line, what a project manager might call the critical path, which, managers speak, which streamline the movie and make it less convoluted and more cinematic. That is what screenwriters and screenwriting adaptation does.
Mm-hmm.
And Project Hail Mary, which we listened to the audiobook, unabridged, did a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
One small example, and again, we're not doing spoilers here, but when the movie had to break its point of view to show us other things that are happening on Earth while the protagonist is in space, we shift from his point of view to the project director on Earth. But in the novel, our protagonist learns about what's going on Earth in a different way. Mm-hmm. And we never break from the protagonist of the story.
The effect is the same.
The effect, what happens and how he finds out and how we find out, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the book stays with the main character the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And that works really well when you're writing about it because the reader can go, oh, okay, he just found out, the Earth knows, we all know, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in the movie, he did it a different way. They did it a different way. And that works very well. Not breaking it from the first point of view works very well in both the novel and the movie, since his situation calls for a lot of exposition to be thrown at him that we, the audience, also need. We need to learn how big space is, for instance. And in both the novel and the movie, this is handled very, very well. Another more significant example of streamlining is the matter of an accident. We're not going to go into any detail, but there is a problem with radiation in this movie and in the story. And given the culture in which Grace's buddy comes from...
Grace is the main character. Grace is the protagonist. Yeah.
He is. He's the main storyteller here. But the culture from which Grace's buddy comes from in this movie... could not have anticipated this problem with radiation.
And like Andy Weir's previous novel, which was The Martian, the novel leans very heavily on both hard science, real legit, honest to God research science, and sort of made up science sounding stuff, which you kind of have to have in a science fiction novel 90% of the time. There's no such thing as time travel. You can't travel faster than light, so you have to accept certain tropes. And he's pretty good about the tropes that he inserts. They're just necessary for the plot. Mm-hmm. They're plausible. They're not impossible, and they're necessary. He relies on all the things that would be required for this particular project to succeed. And one aspect of that is what would happen to a spacecraft that was actually traveling very, very fast through space.
May I interrupt you, Driftglass, and just say one of my favorite parts of this movie was a tiny little bit where they run an experiment, and they run a lot of experiments in this movie because they're all scientists, right?
Yes.
But they run a little experiment to see just how powerful the energy source they have will work.
Yes. That's impressive as hell.
And it is 30 seconds of this movie. Mm-hmm. Like all these scientists, well, I don't know if this fuel's going to work.
Yeah.
Is it going to work? Let's try this. And it works. And all of them are just stunned at how it works.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. But they needed that 20 to 30 seconds of the movie to say, this is how we're going to travel through space. And now the audience is with you on, we don't need to worry about all the science stuff about why doesn't it burn up the ship and why doesn't it, that's all, we've blah, 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 blah. They have a powerful form of energy that's going to help them propel into space.
Right.
Enough. But it's very well done.
Through empty space, except thing is, space isn't really empty.
Driftglass, you're ruining it for me.
I'm ruining the plot.
He's ruining space for me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, out there in the big beyond, there are cosmic rays and there's interstellar hydrogen. And it turns out if you drive a ship through that fast enough, you've basically become a particle accelerator. And you really don't want to camp out in a particle accelerator.
No.
It's not good for you. And all that sciencey explanation is dropped for the sake of time and clarity. We don't get any of that backstory nonsense, and we don't really need it.
No.
It's just the stuff I love hearing in a science fiction novel when you can slow down and really kind of revel in the storytelling.
Well, and it's what Doctor Who called timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Don't need to explain it. It just is.
We talked about this kind of rebalancing that movies must do when adapting novels a few years ago. If you want to go back to our Science Fiction University archives and take a look. Because there are fans who get kind of cranky when you mess around too much with their favorite plot elements. But we personally, the two of us, generally have a high tolerance for some reasonable trimming and merging if it means we get to see great novels well produced on the big screen.
Yes.
Which we have to say, I want to emphasize that, well produced.
Yes.
On the big screen.
Our tolerance goes way down the crappier the movie is.
Yeah.
But this one's very well done. For example, in Dune Part 1, and by the way, Part 3 is coming in December. I don't know how they have to pack basically 2 novels, I think, into the third movie. But you know what? I have faith. I have faith in Mr. Villeneuve to do that.
Yeah.
He's not disappointed me so far. But in Dune Part 1, I was disappointed that the foreshadowing of Liet Kynes as a mysterious and powerful political player at the Duke's banquet was dropped. I thought it was a great scene of exposition and revelation, as was the ritual of the wet towels, which I thought was very important, and the role of a critical early character named Shoutout Mapes, which was reduced to almost nothing. But none of that ruined the movie for us, because the same editing for time and budget happened with Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. But we fans are pretty forgiving as long as the director is judicious and gets the big things right.
We have no faith in this. Is it the He-Man Masters of the Universe movie? Is that the preview we saw?
Yeah.
I desperately want Ray Harryhausen to be brought back to actually do that movie, because the CGI AI, whatever it is that put together this upcoming remake. No.
Bad.
But getting the big things right.
Right.
That's what the directors of Project Hail Mary, who are Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, did with Project Hail Mary. And since everyone starts somewhere, we thought we'd mention that Lord and Miller started out directing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Shout out to John Amato of Crooks and Liars, the biggest Buffy the Vampire Slayer super fan there is.
There is. Yeah.
Period. And he's the one that told me he really liked, he saw Project Hail Mary 2 days before I did and said it was good. And these two directors got their big screen debut with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which the New York Times points out, quote, has very little by way of story other than falling food, unquote. And yet, I took the kids to see that movie. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, they're very good at this.
Yeah.
Next, they turned to retro television, as some of you might know. They turned that into a very good comedy called 21 Jump Street, which was hilarious, and the sequel 22 Jump Street, which came out the same year as their amazing Lego movie. So
good.
It's a terrific movie. It was basically just a branding exercise, but they turned it into a really, really good, moving movie. Mm-hmm. And so they're on a hot one, right? They're streaking through Hollywood, they're doing everything right, and then they got fired, which destroyed their career. It was very sad.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. But it was a big deal since the movie they got fired from was Lucasfilm's Han Solo prequel, Solo: A Star Wars Story.
How'd that movie turn out? Was it any good?
I
didn't see it.
Kind of glad that they were personally kind of 3 steps away from that one.
Yeah. So they went away for a minute and came back as the producers of the terrific Oscar-winning animated Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive resume these guys have.
Yeah, they're good. And those Spider-Verse movies are just
out of this world.
Blew my mind. Just so good. Now, it would shock you to learn that the screenwriter for Project Hail Mary, Drew Goddard, was also the screenwriter for The Martian. which was, of course, Andy Weir's previous novel that was turned into a hit motion picture, where once again, some trimming had to be done. In the novel, our protagonist, Mark Watney, is stranded on Mars. As you know, I don't need to spoil that for you, but he's stranded on the planet Mars and cannot get home by himself.
It's a space movie.
Yeah. And it was also, I believe, Barack Obama's favorite movie of that year.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah. And getting him back home is very complicated, which part of his return home involves him driving his Martian rover something like 2,000 miles across the face of the desolate planet Mars, stopping every day or every like X number of hours to recharge the rover's batteries, which are solar powered. Now, in the novel, a high atmospheric dust storm begins to dim the available sunlight, which Watney needs since he's using solar panels to recharge the batteries. And if it dims it too much, which is possible, he's never going to make it. He's going to die there on Mars. So what is it about Andy Weir and the dimming of stars, Blue Gal? I don't know. It seems to be something. I don't know.
He's fascinated with that topic. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, Watney uses science and math and logic to science the shit out of this stuff.
He sure did.
And he figures out what he needs to do. It is a life or death drama. But every step along the way has been a life or death drama. He's an astronaut. So this one was dropped for time and clarity, and it didn't ruin the movie for us one bit.
No. However, we got to the movie early enough, and we left slowly enough to see a younger, more, shall we say, intense contingent of our science fiction tribe gathering themselves together on the curb in front of the theater.
Guess which gender?
Yeah. Yep. Then they convened an ad hoc movie review panel on the same curb after the movie.
Wearing their comic book T-shirts.
Very serious young men. And it felt like the midnight hour in the con suite of every science fiction convention I have ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
Or alternately, to be fair, back when Junior Dude and his friends would passionately debate in our basement the finer points of the latest Star Wars and Marvel movies. And what was
every sentence began with, dude.
Dude. So if you just swap out the hoodies and the Mountain Dew and the vapes for berets and coffee and tobacco picado, you might have mistaken them for intense young men plotting revolution in 18th century France.
I was never going to mistake them for that. But
hushed words, very serious. Every little detail, talking about theory, all deep into the night. I swear to God.
And deep into the book. I mean, that was, their conversation was about the book to movie translation and what was left out.
Right.
Yep. We didn't linger with them or break in on their conclave. I did really want to stand there for a while and eavesdrop. But if they gave us any thought at all, we'd have been just another couple who'd gotten the senior discount and we were off to do senior citizen stuff. So you boys have a good time now.
Right. We wouldn't understand what they're talking about.
No,
they're just,
they didn't see us. We were invisible to them. But we were in earshot long enough to hear them chapter and verse audit the movie for all the novel bits that had been left out. Absolutely. They were absolutely going page by page. Mm-hmm. This part, this part, this part. And they'd obviously memorized that book, which doesn't mean they didn't like it. I really felt that they did.
Right. Exactly.
It's just what us nerds do when we gather in groups.
Yes.
And a couple of them were authorities on the book. I got to say, I did get that impression.
Well, that's the important thing, to be the authority. And in fact, for more on this, we turn now to Stephen Frear's adaptation of Nick Hornby's High Fidelity, which is filmed in Chicago at places I used to know very, very well.
You guys are snobs.
No, we're not.
No, seriously, you're totally elitist. You feel like the unappreciated scholars, so you shit on the people who know less than you. No, which is everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think there is an official term of venery for a gathering of nerds, or more specifically, a gathering of science fiction nerds or movie nerds, maybe a montage of movie nerds, or a singularity or speculation of science fiction nerds.
Singularity.
A singularity of science fiction. You like that one?
Yeah, okay. I like that one.
Provisionally, that one is it, but we will work on it, I promise. We'll workshop
that one, yeah. Uh-huh. Anyway, as we sat through 35 minutes of commercials, previews, and absolute time wasters, including like the same commercial repeating 3 times.
Yeah.
For Cadillac. These all preceded the movie. For 35 minutes. Come on. We saw an ad for an outfit called Fathom's Big Screen Classics, which we know they rent out movie theaters and run things like opera and stuff like that. And it used to be called TCM's Big Screen Classics, which, according to their blurb, transforms legendary movies into must-see theatrical releases that resonate with both lifelong fans and new generations of moviegoers.
And if you've ever lived in Chicago for a length of time, you're probably familiar with the Music Box Theater out on Southport, near where I used to live. The Music Box Theater in Chicago used to do this sort of thing all the time. Now, I remember seeing 2001 A Space Odyssey on their biggest screen sometime in the early 2000s with much younger colleagues who'd never seen it or had only seen it chopped up between commercials on TV. And the theater was packed. And not with just people my age, but with younger people who were seeing this for the first time. It drew a new audience.
The Brattle Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard Square, did the same thing when I was living in that area. I spent the night at a Thin Man marathon. And I almost stayed away for the whole thing. I have to admit, I snoozed at about 1 to 2 a.m.
Yeah, well, you do. You do,
But,
don't you?
Yeah. So after the Fathoms ad, we looked at each other and said, hell yes. Now, we're not going to go see Ben-Hur.
No.
And although if there's film, people there who haven't seen the chariot scene in Ben-Hur, you should see it on the big screen. Absolutely. We're not going to go see the anniversary of The Birdcage or the remake of Ocean's 11, but Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we might go see. The Maltese Falcon? Wow. At a reasonable price and location? Definitely. And for the same reason that for the last 2 summers, we've headed up to Bloomington, Illinois for the Illinois Shakespeare Festival. In 2024, we saw Hamlet. And in 2025, we saw Macbeth.
Yeah. And we mention all of this because some things last. They last long enough for the next generation or the one after that one to appreciate it and enjoy it, not as some dusty piece of required reading or viewing in a history class, but as something that's still vital and important long after the people who created it and the original audience are gone. Now, some art is like this, and some music is like this, and some literature. Not much of this stuff will last. Harlan Ellison does a whole riff, the late Harlan Ellison does a whole riff on the best-selling author in the 1930s who sold everything, was bestseller. He was in the Saturday Evening Post. Movies were made, and you've never heard of him. You couldn't buy a book of his to save your life a century later. And that's because you got to remember Sturgeon's law, which is, sure, 90% of science fiction is crap, but 90% of everything is crap, which is rather true. But some things will endure. And behind all the art and the music and the books and films that last are enduring ideas that resonate with us regardless of where and when we encounter them, usually very simple ideas that have been brought to life by skilled craftspeople.
Hamlet, ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Hamlet is about the eternal conflict between moral reflection and the need to act, to be or not to be. The Maltese Falcon lasts because it's about the pursuit of illusion and greed and the cost of chasing something that may ultimately be worthless. Is the chase worth it? The same thing you'll also find in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yeah, with one of the same actors.
Yep.
And then at the other end of the spectrum, which is where we are headed now, there are things that someone or some group once upon a time thought at the time they were absolutely dead sure would stand the test of time, would last forever, but they didn't. And history is littered with these, from the Roman Empire to the American Confederacy to the Third Reich. And yes, some of the ideas that animated those groups, like imperial conquest and white supremacy and fascism, survived. That's true. But the regimes themselves all eventually fell. And one of the most remarkable poems in the English language is a short piece on this very subject. Now, it was written over 200 years ago. Believe it or not, it is still widely and frequently read and cited aloud. And it still retains so much potency and relevance that Vince Gilligan titled the penultimate episode of the final season of Breaking Bad after it. Can you guess what it is? It's a remarkable and brief 14 lines of poetry that speaks of the hubris of a dead emperor who thought his works would endure forever, but they did not. And here is the John Gielgud version of that poem.
I met a traveller from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on those lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
And as we left the theater and made our way back home, where Driftglass fixed hot honey chicken, so good from my hot honey, and he roasted some asparagus and made some mashed potatoes. It was all so yummy, Driftglass. Thank you.
And it will last forever, Blue Gal. It'll last forever.
Oh, that hot honey chicken lasted for a little while, but it was pretty good, too. We could feel the anger and despair of the real world of Trump and Iran and the Epstein files and the rampant racist stupidity and corruption reasserting itself into our brains after a couple of hours of a break. Elbowing aside the fictional world we had just watched face catastrophe with wise, collective effort, selflessness, and heroism, and maybe just a little bit of human cowardice.
Yeah.
And it got us wondering about the time we are all living through right now. I mean, face it, guys. We're both political nerds, and we have been since we were teenagers. And in the realm of politics, we're the nerds on the corner hashing out the stuff that no one else notices.
Yeah. That's what we do here. And we're proud of it. We embrace it. But what we try to add to that barrage of daily headlines is a breakdown of recent events and a way for both of us, both us and people who listen to this podcast, our loyal listeners, to put those things into a proper context, to give you vocabulary to understand what you're seeing and hearing. So many official lies and disasters are coming at all of us so fast every day that it feels like trying to stay upright while leaning into a hurricane, which is why we believe more than ever in the importance of understanding how we got into this mess in the first place, which, as a subject of inquiry that we've been talked about many times, turns out to be Sherlock Holmes, the dog that didn't bark in the night, where during an investigation, the absence of something which should be there is the most important evidence of all.
Yeah, think about all the history documentaries and docudramas you've ever heard of, from the sweeping and complex, like Ken Burns' The Civil War, and from the Earth to the Moon miniseries hosted by Tom Hanks, those big multi-part documentaries, to small, obscure subjects like Hands on a Hard Body, the documentary, in which contestants in a Texas endurance contest where people keep a hand on a truck for days to win it. Or The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which is such an amazing little documentary.
It's wonderful.
The drama surrounding the world record for the arcade game Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
So much drama in that little documentary.
It's got avarice, revenge, redemption, lying. It's got everything. Every human emotion. There appears to be at least one, and often very many, documentaries and docudramas about every subject you can think of, except for the full story of the most important and frightening political events of our lifetime: the steady, catastrophic descent of the Republican Party and the conservative movement into full-blown fascism, led by the worst people in the world, who were nominated 3 times and elected twice by the stupidest, most fear-driven, paranoid, racist meatheads in America. I mean, come on. Don't you think it's a little strange that in 5 minutes on the internet, you or I could locate like a dozen or 24 or 100 documentaries or plays or movies where the subject is the Roman Empire, like Rome, HBO's Rome, or Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, since we're talking about Shakespeare, or Monty Python's The Life of Brian. And yet there is not one notable documentary tracing the devolution of the modern Republican Party from Strom Thurmond switching parties to the Powell memo, to Nixon's Southern strategy, to Reagan and Falwell and Hate Radio and Fox News, to Gingrich and Atwater, and then on to Trump. And the reason is really very simple. No one with the resources to make such a thing wants to do it. The villains of such a documentary would not be safely long dead, but alive and well and powerful and vengeful. And what's more, the legacy media and the conservative media and our Never Trump allies are still deeply complicit, are all deeply complicit here, and have all shown either aggressive indifference to the story or an active hostility to it.
Now, one might argue that it would be unreasonable to ask any professional filmmaker to spend millions of dollars tackling a subject while it's still active and evolving and the ending is unknown. Except that we live in a world in which MGM Studios, owned by Jeff Bezos, which, by the way, made Project Hail Mary, just released their ridiculous high-budget documentary entitled Melania, covering Trump's life around her husband's second inauguration. What a topic.
Wow.
The project, directed by Brent Ratner, who has his own weirdo history, featured a record-breaking $40 million bribe/acquisition fee with an additional estimated $35 million for marketing, which made it one of the most expensive documentary on quote-unquote projects in history. The best thing about it, let's face it, are the multiple parodies it inspired.
Yeah. There's plenty of money floating around for documentaries.
Yeah.
About things that are happening right now and haven't ended yet. But the reason that contextualizing the disconcerting madness we see all around us every day falls to the flyover country liberal podcasters like us is that an honest accounting of how we got here and who is to blame implicates all the wrong people, especially 77 million of our fellow citizens who went to the polls in 2024 and affirmatively decided to inflict all of these calamities on us. And so, since it falls to us to contextualize what we see and hear every day, it also makes us wonder every day what will last and what will not.
And I will just say, the people from the great courses are not banging down our door to make a lesson plan.
Nope.
And so we just have to do it on the fly with your donations.
Yeah.
That's how we're doing it, bit by bit. Now, before going to the movies, Driftglass and I had coffee with a couple of delightful listeners. If you are driving through Springfield, Illinois, all you have to do is send us an email, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, and say, hey, we're going to be in Springfield. Would you like to have coffee?
Yeah.
And we would be glad to.
Yeah.
And so we met with these two delightful listeners from upstate Illinois. And as we chatted, the subject of legacy came up. We talked about a narcissist of our acquaintance whose whole life was built around making sure he'd be remembered and glorified and leave his mark on history. And in doing so, this person managed to alienate everyone who he'd hoped would remember him fondly. And we also talked about my father, who didn't worry very much about his legacy and instead got on with making his art and enjoying hanging out with his grandkids. And generally being a cool, interesting guy.
Yeah, he certainly was.
And paradoxically, you guys, his legacy is not in doubt.
No, it is
People
secure.
will look up at his artwork and say, Ian made that.
Yeah. And
look at his grandkids and say, that's because of Ian.
Yeah. And his grandkids will say, oh, Grumps was the greatest.
Grumps.
And they will tell them stories about how awesome their Grumps was.
Every time they play with art or do a crossword puzzle, they'll know Grumps is with them in their hearts.
Yeah.
Yep. Forever. this time in history that we are passing through, what will be remembered after we're all long gone?
And our answer will not be of great comfort to us now, because anyone with a conscience is living in a state of ongoing grief and anger at what Republicans are doing to our country. Terrible things, which at the moment we are nearly powerless to stop. And there's no worse feeling than seeing an evil person doing evil deeds and being unable to stop them. But in the end, Trump can stamp his wrinkled lip and sneer on as many lifeless things as he wishes. He can do it on arches and coins and ballrooms and whatever the hell else he wants to. But in the end, none of it will last, because better men and better women will tear it all down and pave it all over. And time will eat the rest. And in all likelihood, Trump will emerge on the other side of history's long corridor as a shameful, deeply American, bottomless pit of narcissism and greed, a dangerous buffoon, a racist monster, an adjudicated rapist, and a pedophile enabler. As for every Republican office holder and media clown who enabled his treachery and madness, we'll let Pink Floyd speak for us in song lyrics which are speaking instead of playing in order to avoid a takedown notice.
Yeah, we really debated this, whether we could include a Pink Floyd clip, and I had to veto it because I didn't want to get takedown.
YouTube to say nope. So
or even Apple.
Yeah,
I didn't want Apple Podcasts to say you can't put this in here. Yeah,
and I'm not even going to try to do the effects and the voice. I can't do it. It's on the album Animals. It's on the song Dogs. You can look it up for yourself. And I'll bet for at least half of you, these are very familiar lyrics. And they go like this: and when you lose control, you'll reap the harvest you have sown. And as the fear grows, the bad blood slows and turns to stone. And it's too late to lose the weight you used to need to throw around. So have a good drown as you go down all alone, dragged down by the stone.
Of course, it's far too early to talk about precisely what history will ultimately judge to be important in this moment, what will last and what will fade. The media is often described as the first rough draft of history, but when the media itself is so thoroughly compromised, and I wrote on Blue Sky this week, the media is failing to achieve the audience they want because they utterly deserve to fail.
Yeah. Yep.
They have earned this failure of theirs.
Over decades, not just
over
the last
decades,
10 years,
not
over
just the
decades.
last, not even, CBS, everybody's blaming Barry Weiss. No. Mainstream television news has been horrible for the entire time I've been blogging, since 2004, if not earlier.
And before that.
Yeah. But we can't rely on the media to be the place people turn to 20 or 200 years from now to understand this period. What we can talk about with some certainty is the short-term comparison between the last failed Republican administration, which lied the country into war and presided over a massive economic catastrophe, the Bush administration, and the current Republican administration, the Trump administration, which also lied the country into a disastrous war of choice, is presiding over an unfolding self-inflicted economic disaster, and is hiding evidence of a billionaire pedophile and sex trafficking ring in which Trump is deeply implicated.
And now with the distance of time, a little bit of time has passed, looking back at the Bush years, you may have noticed that even the most hardline neoconservative Iraq war cheerleaders who called us all stupid and crazy and wrong and terrorist-loving scum and so forth, many of whom now write columns for outlets like The Bulwark and The Atlantic and The New York Times, they've been forced to concede, however reluctantly, that the Iraq war may have been a mistake, a big oopsie. Now, they're quick to add that George Bush also did some good things, and to be fair, his administration did accomplish a few positive things. But none of them come close to outweighing the catastrophe he unleashed through his disastrous policies and his corrupt administration. And we think something
similar. He was not a good Christian man.
No, he wasn't.
Despite what millions of voters told themselves and were brainwashed into repeating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and a whole separate subject for a whole different podcast is going to be the fact that in the public square, the media will usually create debates over faith between Christians who are right-wing conservative Christians and Christopher Hitchens people who are atheists.
Yep.
Because there's no liberal Christians out there. There are no liberal people of faith out there.
Right.
And once again, a whole group of people who could and are fighting really hard against this fascism are being completely silenced because the media refuses to acknowledge we exist at all.
Right.
Now, as to the Bush administration failing and how it will go on in history, we believe something similar will likely be said about the Trump administration, but cranked up to 11. In the historical record, it'll probably be noted that Operation Warp Speed was a success. The administration didn't invent the COVID-19 vaccine. Science wasn't developed in the White House kitchen, but it did provide funding and urgency and regulatory space for the scientists who were already working on it. And under that program, a viable COVID vaccine was developed at previously unprecedented speed.
Thank you, Anthony Fauci.
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't give Trump any credit for this.
No. Under his administration, this happened.
It happened.
Under that, while he was president, that happened.
It did happen. Yep. But of course, once anti-vaccine sentiment took hold in their political base, the administration and the broader movement ran away from their one notable accomplishment. But it still remains one genuinely positive development that occurred during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long view of history, that success will vanish into the footnotes. And if there are any COVID-related facts on the main page of future history books, it will probably be about Trump's fatally incompetent handling of the pandemic and the way he played politics with people's lives. And just as the handful of good things done under the Bush administration are overshadowed by the catastrophic decision to launch the Iraq War under false pretenses and his many other failures, so too will Trump be judged, because some disasters are simply too consequential to be balanced out by smaller accomplishments.
Yeah. Now, what remains a genuinely open question is what will be the fate of the tens of millions of bigots and imbeciles who nominated this asshole 3 times and elected him twice? Because after Trump's gone and the work of toppling every monument to him and melting every commemorative coin has begun in earnest, these scum who elected him and the professional liars they listen to, this disease infecting our democracy, will still be on the loose, will still be out there causing damage. And this is where the next Democratic administration and the next Democratic majority in Congress cannot be allowed to make the same tragic mistake that Barack Obama made after he was elected. None of this, we must look forward, not backward shit this time. None of that. Those people cannot be allowed to slip back into the shadows again, which they did after the Bush administration, unnamed and unpunished. Their propaganda outlets must face heavy, punitive legal action that aimed at driving them into bankruptcy. Those who committed crimes against democracy in defense of Donald Trump must be prosecuted, convicted, and imprisoned. In a post-Trump world, the Republican Party must be given the same treatment that the House Un-American Activities Committee meted out to the Communist Party during the 1950s. In other words, as we've said 1,000 times before, we must burn their lifeboats.
You worked very hard in that statement, Driftglass, to avoid the word should.
Yes, I tried.
And it's obvious. I mean, I hear it because I know you.
Uh-huh.
But because that's the word that you and I are always, shitting on, frankly.
I know.
You think, oh, this should happen. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I am hopeful that our voices and the voices of millions of No Kings protesters this coming Saturday, by the way,
Yep.
will remember what has happened and will call out every opportunity to rebrand Republican voters away from Trump.
You know what? I'm right there with you.
Yep.
I hope, since the subject of this podcast is legacy, I'm hoping that one of the legacies of the Trump administration is the permanent reshaping of the American political landscape.
Yep.
So that you can't pretend Republicans aren't fascists anymore. You cannot pretend they're not ignorant, angry, racist idiots anymore.
Yep.
And the left gets to be as righteously angry as we like, and we get rewarded for it. That people we're going to put into office are not going to be there to shake hands across the aisle with a bunch of fucking fascists. They're there to make sure that this thing never happens again. And the only way to do that is by cauterizing the Republican Party and making sure that at every opportunity we drive them back into the minority where they belong. And so we'll have a Roosevelt type universe where we just have Democrats running the show for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
It's just ambitious and possibly impossible, but it will drive the people in the party, the MAGA folks and the racists, back into the dirt where they belong and let another party form.
Yeah.
But the political landscape of this country has to be reshaped around those lines. And the catalyst for that, Trump didn't really change anything. He exposed the Republican Party for what it's been for a long time.
And he exposed our economy as being made up of multi-billion-dollar corporations that prefer a president that can be bought because it's easier for their bottom line and their stock price. And so that Elizabeth Warren economic restructuring of we're going to do trust busting now.
That should be the center.
That's the center of it.
That's the centrist position. We need to bust trusts and we need to put billionaires, strip them of their ill-gotten gains. Yep. And if there's $200 billion to be found for additional funding for Trump's psychotic war, we can find $200 billion for the ACA. Yep. It's absurd to pretend otherwise.
For Medicare for all.
Yeah, for Medicare for all.
Yep.
And all these things are within reach if the people in the Democratic Party are as changed by events and motivated by events as our parents and grandparents were by the Great Depression and by World War II.
Yeah.
This catastrophic thing that changed the way politics was done in this country. As changed as after the Civil War. That we can never go back to doing this again. And we know who's the blame for this. Yep. And we know who is right about this.
And so it's about our scars.
Exactly.
And how we react in the future of we're never going to be unable to breathe the way we are right now, and again.
And that also means when a Democratic politician gets up and says, I just want to work across the aisle with my good friend.
They're decimated.
Shout them down.
If
there ever comes a day when that sentence is valid, it has to be because every fucking Republican earns the right to be trusted. You cannot trust them. And if you walk into that chamber trusting Republicans to be of good faith.
My colleagues on the other side, blah, blah, blah. I want to work. Yeah.
No. Truman did this.
Can't be. Yeah.
Truman was, you showed me that speech by Truman where, the only friend labor ever had was the fucking Democratic Party.
Right.
And you damn well know it. And Roosevelt who said, I feel their hatred and I welcome it.
I welcome it. Yep.
You have to do, and this is another thing we talked about with our listeners. You have to do what Harold Washington did when more than half the Democrats in the city council and supported Republicans. Flipped on him. Call them out by name and do it every day and make sure the people out there who are getting screwed knows who's screwing them.
Yep.
And the people in the news who want to represent those horrible lying views are themselves targets of your retribution because they've earned it.
They've earned it.
Immigrants didn't earn this.
With their fruit fly memories and their ability to we're just reporting. No. We don't judge. We're just reporting on what's happening.
No more Chuck Todds. No more Christian Welkers. No more Chuck Todds.
Yep.
Anyway, let's.
We will have more on this in coming episodes. I know.
Yeah.
We're never going to stop talking about this, and it really is. That is the one. If you've ever been through therapy of any kind, your locus of control, how you've changed. This is how the Democratic Party has changed. We can control this.
Yes.
And I'll say it again. They have cashed all their checks with the Tea Party.
Yeah, they have. No more.
No more. They have nothing left to spend on rebranding. We see you, Republicans. You're not going to come up with people or Tea Party or New American Century or whatever it is the billionaires have in mind to make it all right and all forgotten.
And when
we won't forget.
When your Republican neighbor, colleague, et cetera, says, "Oh, that's over. Let's all move on," your answer should be, "Fuck no."
Yeah. Never.
No.
Never.
Once you apologize and you make up for the damage you did to my country. By staying
home at every election for the rest of your fucking life.
Then we'll talk. People used to say after the Iraq War that once Bill Crystal has spent 20 years swabbing out bedpans at Bethesda,
Right.
he gets to come back in public.
And say hello on the air. Yes.
Yeah. And that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
And now we're paying the price for that.
Yep.
Anyway.
I just want to say something that you said about the mark of that the Depression left on our grandparents. Yeah. And I can still hear my grandmother at the table saying, "Eat plenty, there's plenty."
That's right. So important.
And let's remember the time when we had nothing.
That's exactly right. And
she never, ever forgot. And she put 15 plates on the table of food to tell everybody there's plenty to eat. Yeah. It never left her that she didn't have food for her 4 kids.
Well, and by the sink, there was always the coffee can with the bacon fat in it.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Because you didn't waste it.
You wasted nothing.
My mother was the oldest. Actually, I should say they had trouble feeding their kids actually because of wartime rationing, I should say. My mother was born in 1939 on the eve of World War II. So they had 3 more kids almost immediately after. So, it was the rationing. But there's plenty was the way my grandmother began every meal at her house.
Yep.
Reminding herself, thank God, there's plenty for everybody to eat. So we're going to be that way in reverse.
Well, we're going to be as altered from the way things used to be as that has altered people who were living in the roaring 20s and everything was fine.
Yep. I never want to throw up after an election morning again. Yeah. After an election night again.
I never want to have to comfort my wife crying after an election.
Yeah.
Ever again.
Crying and throwing up. I threw up when I found Trump was reelected. Yep. I woke up in the morning. I just, empty stomach. First thing in the morning, he won, and I went in the bathroom and threw up. That is never going to happen to me again, because I'm going to fight this. All right. We got news roundup, Driftglass.
Let's do it.
The news today is Kafka-esque.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump managed to lie, rage, threaten, retreat, contradict himself about his war with Iran, taco, and then contradict his contradictions about a dozen times. One of the upshots is that he has lifted sanctions against Iranian tankers. Certain
Iranian tankers, but
the ones carrying oil, right?
Yeah.
Which will immediately give Iran a big cash infusion. I am not making this up. Yes, Donald Trump is helping to fund the country on which he declared war a month ago, and a country who is actively attacking United States soldiers and allies in the region. I mean, you and I talked about bomb Hitler with cash.
Yeah, let's drop cash bombs on Germany. That'll
fix him. And then you said something very funny about we will bribe them on the beaches.
We will bribe them on the beaches. We will bribe them in the trees, in the hills.
Winston Churchill is spinning in his grave. All right.
Yeah, well, he's
really. I mean, it's Winston Churchill watching Trump pay Iran.
Yeah.
I can't. All right. So we're just going to do one story of a heroine. This is from The Advocate, quote, "I will not comply. Tennessee librarian refuses to move LGBTQ books." LGBTQ plus books. Rutherford County Library Director Luann James' stand against a vote to relocate more than 190 titles draws national support as the board weighs firing her. In a message sent this week to the Rutherford County Library System Board, Director Luann James said she would not comply with an order to move more than 100 LGBTQ plus titles from youth sections to the adult area. Restricting access to these materials through subjective relocation or removal constitutes a violation of the community's right to information and a direct infringement on the principles of free speech, she wrote in a letter to the board of the Rutherford County Library System on Wednesday, unquote. And that, kids, is what resistance looks like.
Hell yeah.
We love you guys. Feel free to write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. We do love hearing from you. Again, if you're ever going to be in Springfield, Illinois, send us a little note, proleftpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your dates, and we will try very hard to accommodate you and have coffee with you. We'd love to do it. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service, go Postal Unions, letter on the air unless you say otherwise. And a shout out to TSA agents not being paid.
Yeah. We
Damn.
tried. Democrats tried. There were 6 or 7.
They tried 9, 8, 9. It's getting more and more. They're constantly trying. And Trump keeps saying, no, I want the SAVE Act passed. Fuck you, Donald. And look, thank you for supporting our show at patreon.com and also on Venmo. If you look up Pro Left Podcast, you will find us on Venmo. We appreciate your support.
Yeah. One bit of housekeeping. If all things go as planned, I will be on the Bradcast this Wednesday with Desi Doyen and Brad Friedman and Digby, which will be very exciting sometime in the afternoon. Always a good show. And again, being in company with people who think not identical to you, but are smart and are on your side is so reassuring because sometimes it feels like you're all alone. And one thing you can do to help our show is to share us on social media. We learned from our guests on Sunday that she learned of us from the Bob Seska show.
Right.
And she passed that information along to her husband. And, she shared our show on social media.
She shared our show. She did. She did.
This is part of our master plan to establish the media empire, one listener at a time. And so far, so good. So if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to it too. And thank you very much for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties looked upon Trump's works and despaired, and then knocked his commemorative coins off the shelf.
Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left Podcast is produced and recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright DGBG Productions. ProLeftPod.com.